In the city of Savatthi, long ago, lived a wealthy Brahmin named Adinapubhaka. He was known for his wealth, but he was also known for his miserly nature. He hoarded his riches, never sharing, never giving to those in need. Adinapubhaka had a son named Matakundali. Unlike his father, Matakundali possessed a heart full of kindness and faith. From a young age, he was drawn to the teachings of the Buddha. He would often sneak away to listen to the Buddha's discourses, his heart filled with peace and joy. Matakundali was deeply moved by the Buddha's message of compassion and non-attachment. He understood that true wealth lay not in material possessions, but in spiritual growth and liberation from suffering. With unwavering faith, he took refuge in the triple gem, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. While his father clung tightly to his wealth, Matakundali found solace and meaning in the Buddha's words. His faith grew stronger with each passing day, a stark contrast to his father's greed. As fate would have it, Matakundali fell gravely ill. His body weakened, racked with pain and fever. Adinapubhaka, despite his wealth, refused to spend his precious coins on his son's treatment. He believed that such expenses were unnecessary and a waste of his hard-earned money. Days turned into nights as Matakundali lay suffering in his bed. His mother, heartbroken, pleaded with her husband to show some compassion, but her words fell on deaf ears. Adinapubhaka remained unmoved, his heart hardened by greed. Matakundali's condition worsened. Yet through his pain and suffering, his faith in the Buddha never wavered. He found solace in the Buddha's teachings, reciting the verses he had learned, his voice weak but filled with devotion. Despite the neglect and suffering, Matakundali harbored no ill will toward his father. He understood that his father was trapped in his own cycle of greed and ignorance. Matakundali continued to radiate loving kindness even in his weakened state. One day, as Matakundali lay close to death, the Buddha, in his infinite wisdom and compassion, became aware of the young man's plight. He knew of Matakundali's pure heart, his unwavering faith, and his father's miserly nature. The Buddha decided to intervene. He knew that this was an opportunity to not only ease Matakundali's suffering, but also to awaken Adinapubhaka from his delusion. With his monks, the Buddha approached the house of Adinapubhaka. The Buddha's presence was radiant, his serene countenance emanating peace and tranquility. Adinapubhaka, surprised by the unexpected visit, cautiously stepped out of his house to greet the revered sage. The Buddha, in his gentle and compassionate voice, inquired about Adinapubhaka's well-being. He then asked about his son, Matakundali. Adinapubhaka hesitated before reluctantly revealing his son's illness. The Buddha listened with empathy and then requested to see the ailing young man. Adinapubhaka, unable to refuse the Buddha's request, led him to Matakundali's room. The Buddha approached Matakundali, his serene presence filling the room. Matakundali, with great effort, opened his eyes and was overcome with joy at the sight of the Buddha standing before him. The Buddha, with infinite compassion, began to speak to Matakundali. He spoke of the impermanence of all things, the nature of suffering, and the path to liberation. As he listened to the Buddha's words, Matakundali felt a profound sense of peace wash over him. Matakundali, his heart filled with gratitude and devotion, focused his mind on the Buddha. In that moment, his suffering ceased. Upon his death, due to his unwavering faith and the merit he accumulated through his virtuous deeds, Matakundali was reborn in the Tavatimsa celestial world, a realm of great beauty and bliss.